Ever since being introduced in the 2002 Expedition base set, supporter cards have become the key part of every single deck. Whether it be drawing cards, powering up your Pokemon, or disrupting your opponent, supporter cards make or break your deck. In this list, we'll be taking a look at the best supporter cards of all time. At number 10, we have the Fire Supporter Welder. Welder released in Unbroken Bonds and allows the user to attach up to 2 fire energies to one of their Pokemon and draw 3 cards, with no restrictions on where these energies could be placed. This, in combination with other powerful fire supporter cards at the time, allowed Welder to dominate the format it was released in. The item card, Fiery Flint, allows you to search your deck for up to 4 energy cards, reveal them, and put them into your hand. Then shuffle your deck. Fire Crystal allowed you to put 3 fire energy cards from your discard pile into your hand. Heat Factory was a powerful stadium that reads, once during each player's turn, that player may discard a fire energy card from their hand. If they do, they draw 3 cards. The best part about this stadium card was that it could not be removed by item or supporter cards. Welder took advantage of all of these cards to consistently power up your fire type decks. At number 9, we have Marnie. This card has both players shuffle their hands and put them at the bottom of their decks, after which the player who used Marnie draws 5 new cards, while their opponent only gets 4. This makes Marnie a very unique card, as every other card in the past had always forced players to shuffle their hand instead of just putting the cards at the bottom of the deck. Gathering useful and powerful cards into your hand is how you play the Pokemon trading card game. Marnie placing all of the cards your opponent gathered into their hand is extremely disruptive. Also, being able to put your opponent down to 4 cards as early as the first turn that you can use a supporter card makes Marnie an extremely powerful card. At number 8, we have Colress from Plasma Storm. Colress reads, shuffle your hand into your deck, then draw a number of cards equal to the number of benched Pokemon, both yours and your opponent's. Colress has the potential to draw 10 cards if both you and your opponent have a full bench of Pokemon. Cards that increase your bench size increase this card's power. If you play the Stadium card Skyfield, which reads, each player can have 8 Pokemon on their bench, you can draw up to 16 cards with a single supporter. Colress has seen significant play from its release in 2013 all the way to today's modern expanded format. At number 7, we have Hex Maniac from XY Ancient Origins. Hex Maniac stops Pokemon abilities until the user's next turn. Many different strategies, combos, and plays are reliant on Pokemon card abilities, so being able to disable them for your opponent and getting them back once it was your turn is completely broken. This card was often played as a one of supporter in decks featuring VS Seeker. VS Seeker allowed you to recycle Hex Maniac repeatedly after its initial use. Finding Hex Maniac was simple with cards such as Tapu Lele GX and its ability Wonder Tag, which reads, when you play this Pokemon from your hand onto your bench, you may search your deck for a supporter card, reveal it, and place it into your hand. Hex Maniac paired with draw supporter cards such as Zoroark GX to make up for the lack of draw support trainer cards in the deck, with its ability Trade that allowed you to discard 1 card and draw 2. The power of Hex Maniac has consistently placed it on the Pokemon trading card game's banned list. Coming in at 6th place is Lieutenant Surge's strategy, which allows the user to use 2 additional supporter cards. Supporters are the most powerful trainer cards in the game, so being able to play more than 1 per turn is extremely strong. The most deadly combination involving Lieutenant Surge's strategy was to play the card Jirachi EX and search for Lieutenant Surge's strategy, then play the item card Island Challenge Amulet onto your Jirachi EX, which knocks out the Jirachi EX because it has less than 100 hit points, allowing your opponent to take a prize card. After your opponent takes multiple prize cards, you can play the item card Reset Stamp to set your opponent's hand down to the amount of prize cards they have left. With Lieutenant Surge's strategy, you could play multiple copies of the trainer cards Delinquent, Mars, and Jesse and James to remove all of the cards from your opponent's hand, not even allowing your opponent to play the game. Island Challenge Amulet, Reset Stamp, Mars, Jesse and James, and Lieutenant Surge's strategy were all part of the standard format at the same time. Similar to Hex Maniac, the power of Lieutenant Surge's strategy has consistently placed it on the banned list. Coming in at number 5, we have Professor's Research, which reads, discard your hand and draw 7 new cards. Ever since the first printing of Professor Juniper in the black and white era, this effect has been a staple in most decks, with a high number of those decks playing the maximum of 4 copies to increase the consistency of their deck, all the way to the current standard format of Scarlet and Violet. The downside of discarding your hand is mitigated with the resource retrieval cards played in most decks. Drawing a fresh 7 cards while getting rid of unplayable cards makes every deck better and more consistent, because Professor's research is not reliant on any other factor in the game, such as having more prize cards than your opponent or only working after your opponent knocks out one of your Pokemon. At number 4, we have the trainer card Teammates, released in Primal Clash. Teammates reads, you can play this card only if your Pokemon was knocked out during your opponent's last turn. Search your deck for up to 2 cards and put them into your hand. Shuffle your deck afterwards. Being able to search for any cards from your deck is incredibly powerful. Some of the best cards of all time, such as Computer Search, have a similar effect. It allows you to choose the perfect cards for your setup. Most decks are built to try and take knockouts every single turn, so fulfilling the requirement to use Teammates was very simple. The most popular deck to use Teammates was the Night March deck. Night March attackers had between 30 and 90 hit points, almost guaranteeing your opponent would knock them out every single turn. Teammates was most often played as a one-of supporter that could be searched out with Tapu Lele GX, and then later retrieved from the discard pile with the item card VS Seeker. Number 3 on our list is Lysandra's Trump card, which reads, each player shuffles all cards in his or her discard pile into their deck, except for Lysandra's Trump card. This card immediately negates the downsides of cards such as Ultra Ball, Computer Search, and Professor's Research, requiring you to discard other cards from your hand to utilize their effect. Being able to play an Ultra Ball without having to worry about what you're getting rid of in return is ridiculously broken. Lysandra's Trump card removes the deck out win condition from the game. Being able to remove an entire win condition from a trading card game is just too powerful to have in the game. The item card VS Seeker allowed you to recycle Lysandra's Trump card, and then in return, you could use Lysandra's Trump card to recycle other cards such as Crushing Hammer, Super Scoop Up, Pokemon Catcher, Hypnotoxic Laser, and VS Seeker repeatedly, creating an infinite loop of resources to disrupt your opponent. With the draw power of Shaman EX, Lysandra's Trump card became overpowered to the point it was placed on the banned list, and there's no chance that Lysandra's Trump card will ever be removed from the banned list. At number 2, we have Boss's Orders, originally released as Lysandra in the XY Flashfire set. Boss's Orders has a simple effect: switch one of your opponent's benched Pokemon with their active Pokemon. This simple effect completely changes how you play the Pokemon trading card game. It makes playing low HP supporters, such as Jirachi and Shaman EX, Tapu Lele GX, Lumineon V, and even the new Squawkabilly EX, very risky because they are 2 prize liabilities if they are knocked out. Boss's Orders can prevent your opponent from building up a powerful attacker on their bench, and Boss's Orders can also allow you to finish off a damaged Pokemon your opponent has retreated to their bench. The amount of times I've heard boss for game is ridiculous. Boss's Orders warps the format around its powerful effect. At number 1, we have In. In reads, each player shuffles his or her hand into her deck, then each player draws a card for each of his or her remaining prize cards left, making this a powerful draw supporter and also an extremely valuable disruption card. The early game use of this card would often be getting a fresh hand in order to set up your strategy. After the initial setup, you could still use this card to put your opponent at a low amount of cards if they had taken multiple prize cards. Sending your opponent down to as little as 1 card is extremely powerful. In has seen other variations of cards such as Rocket's Admin, and in the new Scarlet and Violet era, the supporter card Iono. While legal for play, In made it into every deck with very, very small exceptions. Did I miss a powerful supporter card in this list? Let me know down in the comments.